Commander Kale stood on the bridge of his massive ship and looked at the small blue planet spinning slowly in the distance. His green skin showed the marks of many battles, and his forearms moved with practiced skill across the control panels. He had done this job many times before. Find new species, study them, decide if they could join the Galactic Council. It was always the same. Report, Kale said to his science officer. Dr. Nira turned from her station. Her tall, thin body swayed as she moved. Like all Zephyrians, she had pale blue skin and large black eyes that could see many different types of light. The species calls themselves humans, she said. They live on the third planet from their star. They have basic space travel. Very basic. Their technology is maybe 200 years behind standard council levels. Kale nodded. This was normal. Most new species were far behind the council's technology when first contact happened. What about their society? Divided into many groups, Dr. Nira continued. They fight among themselves often, but they also work together sometimes. Strange patterns. They seem to have strong emotions about everything. Ambassador Thex walked over to join them. He was short and round, with gray skin that changed colors when he felt different emotions. Right now it was a calm green color. Have they noticed our ships yet? Yes, Dr. Nira said. Their detection systems are crude but functional. They know something is here. Some of their governments are talking to each other about it. Others are preparing weapons. Kale made a sound that might have been laughter. Weapons? Against council ships? How cute. He had seen this before too. Young species always thought they could fight the council. They learned quickly that they could not. On the human planet below, Captain Li Hyun stood in the command center of Earth's main space defense station. The station orbited high above the Earth, watching for threats from space. Li Hyun was a tall man with black hair and serious dark eyes. He wore the blue uniform of the Korean Space Force with silver bars on his shoulders that showed his rank. Sir, said Lieutenant Park Min, looking up from her computer screen. The objects are still there. 3 large ships. They're not moving, just watching us. Li Hyun walked over to look at the screen. The alien ships were huge, much bigger than anything humans had ever built. Any communication attempts? Nothing yet, sir. But our computers are picking up scanning beams. They're studying us. Dr. Park Soo entered the command center. She was a small woman with short black hair and glasses. She carried a tablet computer and looked excited and nervous at the same time. Captain Lee, I've been analyzing the scan data. These ships, their technology is incredible. The materials they're made from, the energy signatures. We're looking at science that's hundreds of years ahead of ours. Li Hyun turned to face her. Are they dangerous? Hard to say. They could destroy our entire planet if they wanted to, but they're just watching. Maybe they want to talk. Back on the alien command ship, Kale was reading reports from his other officers. The humans had many different types of technology. Some groups were more advanced than others. They used nuclear power, chemical rockets, and basic computers. Nothing special. But there were some strange things in the reports. Humans seemed to enjoy dangerous activities for fun. They would jump from high places with cloth wings. They would race vehicles at deadly speeds. They would climb tall mountains just to say they had done it. The aliens found this very odd. Why did they risk death for no gain? Asked Dr. Nira. Young species behavior, said Ambassador Thex. They will grow out of it when they become more civilized. Kale was more interested in their military capabilities. The humans had weapons, but they were primitive. Chemical explosives, metal projectiles, some nuclear weapons that were hundreds of times weaker than standard council equipment. They pose no threat, he decided. What Kale did not know was that on Earth, in a hidden facility under the mountains of Korea, engineer Kim Bo was working on something the aliens had not detected. Kim Bo was a genius with electronics and computers. He had been studying the alien scanning beams and learning from them. Dr. Park, Kim Bo said into his communication device. I think I understand how their scanners work, and I think I know how to make our own version. In space, Dr. Park Soo received the message on her tablet. She looked at Captain Li Hyun with surprise. Kim Bo thinks he can copy their scanning technology. Li Hyun raised an eyebrow. How fast? He says maybe a few weeks if we give him enough resources. This was the first sign of something the aliens did not expect. Humans learned very quickly. When they saw new technology, they did not just admire it. They took it apart in their minds and figured out how to build their own version. Often a better version. Commander Kale finally decided it was time for official contact. He sent a message to the human governments using basic radio signals. The message was simple. We are the Galactic Council. We come in peace. We wish to meet your leaders. The message caused chaos on Earth. Every government wanted to be the first to talk to the aliens. But after many heated discussions, they agreed to let the United Nations speak for all of humanity. The meeting would happen on the space station where Captain Lee Hyun worked. 3 days later, Ambassador Thex arrived at the space station in a small alien shuttle. He brought 2 guards with him, but they stayed on the shuttle. Thex wanted to show that the council was peaceful and confident. Captain Lee Hyun met the alien ambassador at the docking bay. With him were Dr. Park Soo and 3 other human officials. The humans wore their best uniforms and tried to look professional. Ambassador Thex was smaller than the humans expected. He looked around the space station with his large eyes and seemed disappointed. "Your technology is very basic," he said through a translation device. "But that is normal for young species." Dr. Park Soo stepped forward. "We are honored to meet you, Ambassador. We have many questions about your people and the Galactic Council." "I am sure you do," Thex replied. "We have been watching many species across the galaxy for thousands of years. You humans are not unusual. You follow the same patterns as most carbon-based life forms. Aggressive in youth, but you will learn to be peaceful as you mature." The humans looked at each other. There was something in the alien's tone that they did not like. He sounded like he was talking to children. "What exactly is the Galactic Council?" asked Captain Lee Hyun. "We are the governing body for all civilized species in this part of the galaxy," Thex explained. "We maintain peace, prevent wars, and help young species like yours develop properly. When you are ready, you may apply to join us." "And what would that involve?" Dr. Park Soo asked. Thex's skin shifted to a pleasant blue color. "Nothing too difficult. You would need to accept council oversight of your military forces. You would need to follow council laws about space travel and colonization. You would need to contribute resources to the council's peacekeeping efforts. Standard procedures." The humans asked many more questions, but Thex gave only basic answers. He seemed to think the humans were not smart enough to understand complex topics. This was his first mistake. After the meeting, Captain Lee Hyun sent a coded message to his superiors on Earth. "The aliens think we're stupid and weak," he reported. "They want to control us, but they're being polite about it for now." Meanwhile, engineer Kim Bo had made remarkable progress with the alien technology. He had not just copied their scanners. He had improved them. His new devices could see things the alien scanners missed. "Captain," Kim Bo reported, "I've been scanning their ships. They have some kind of energy weapons, but they're not very powerful, and their shields have weak spots. I think we could hurt them if we had to." Dr. Park Soo was amazed. "How did you figure that out so quickly?" "Their technology is advanced, but it's old," Kim Bo explained. "They haven't improved it in a long time. They just keep using the same designs over and over. But we humans, we always try to make things better." Back on his command ship, Commander Kale was writing his first report about humanity. "Species shows typical young civilization patterns," he wrote. "Primitive technology but functional. Aggressive tendencies but manageable. Recommend standard integration procedures. Timeline, 6 months preparation, then formal membership application." Dr. Nira added her own notes. "Humans show unusual learning speed, but this is likely due to curiosity about new technology. Not a threat to council superiority," Ambassador Thex concluded. "Species appears eager to please and quick to accept council authority. Integration should proceed smoothly." None of the aliens noticed that during their brief visit to the human space station, engineer Kim Bo had managed to plant several tiny devices on their shuttle. The devices were so small and so advanced that the alien scanners did not detect them. As the alien ships prepared to leave the Sol system, those tiny devices were already sending information back to Earth. Information about alien technology, alien military strength, and alien plans for humanity. The humans were learning much faster than the aliens realized, and they were preparing for possibilities that the aliens had not even considered. Commander Kale looked one last time at the blue planet before his ships jumped to faster-than-light speed. He was confident that humanity would be another easy addition to the Council, just like all the others. He had no idea that he had just made the biggest mistake of his very long life. 6 months had passed since the first meeting with the aliens. The Galactic Council had returned to Earth's solar system with a much larger fleet. This time they brought a massive space station that they placed near Jupiter. They called it a cultural exchange center, but to the humans it looked more like a military base. Ambassador Yoon Da stood at the window of the human shuttle as it approached the alien station. She was a calm woman in her 50s with gray streaks in her black hair. As Earth's first interstellar diplomat, she carried the hopes and fears of her entire species. Next to her sat Colonel Choi Won, a stern military man whose job was to learn everything he could about alien combat methods. "It's enormous," Yoon Da said, looking at the alien station. It was the size of a small city, with strange towers and rings that rotated slowly around a central core. "Too big." Colonel Choi Won replied quietly. "This isn't just for cultural exchange. They could house an invasion fleet in there." Dr. Shin Yu, the team's anthropologist, was busy taking notes on her tablet. She was a young woman with curious eyes and a mind that never stopped asking questions. "Look at the design patterns," she said. "Everything is built for efficiency, not beauty. These people think like engineers, not artists." The shuttle docked with the station, and the humans were greeted by Ambassador Thex and several other council species. The aliens were polite but distant. They treated the humans like interesting pets rather than equals. "Welcome to Station Harmony," Thex said as he led them through corridors filled with strange technology. "Here you will learn about the many wonderful species that make up our council." Over the following weeks, the humans were shown around different parts of the station. They met Vorthak warriors who demonstrated their energy weapons on practice targets. They visited Zephyrian laboratories where scientists worked on projects that the humans were told were too advanced to understand. They watched recordings of other species that had joined the council. But Dr. Shin-Yu noticed something troubling about those recordings. The new species always looked happy in the early videos, but in later recordings they seemed subdued, quiet. Their eyes had lost something. "What happened to the Kellans?" she asked Ambassador Thex one day. The Kellans were a species that had joined the council 50 years earlier. "They integrated successfully," Thex replied. "They found peace under council guidance. But they look so different now. In the early videos they were energetic, creative. Now they just follow orders." Thex's skin shifted to a patronizing yellow color. Young species often have too much energy. The council helps them focus that energy in productive ways. Meanwhile, back on Earth, Engineer Kim Bo was having the time of his life. The tiny devices he had planted on the alien shuttle had provided incredible amounts of data. He had spent months studying alien technology and had made discoveries that amazed even himself. "Captain Lee," he reported during a secure video call, "their computers are incredibly advanced, but they're also incredibly predictable. They use the same basic programming languages across all their species, and their security systems. They're designed to keep out other aliens, not humans." Captain Lee Hyun leaned forward on the screen. "What does that mean exactly?" "It means I can hack them," Kimbo said with a grin. "Not all of their systems, but some of them. I've already broken into some of their communication networks. They don't even know I'm there." What Kimbo had discovered was something the aliens never expected. Human computer science had developed along completely different lines than alien technology. The aliens used logic and efficiency. Humans used creativity and chaos. This made human methods invisible to alien security systems. At the same time, Dr. Park Soo was leading a secret project in the underground facility. She had assembled the best scientists from around the world to study the alien technology data. What they found was shocking. "The technology is impressive," she told her team, "but it's not as advanced as they want us to think. In some areas, we're already close to their level. In others, we might even be ahead." "How is that possible?" asked Dr. Chen Wei, a physicist from Beijing. "They've been using the same technology for thousands of years," Dr. Park Soo explained. "They perfected it and then stopped improving. But we humans, we never stop trying to make things better. We've been advancing faster in the last 100 years than they have in the last 1,000. Back on the alien station, the cultural exchange was revealing more than the aliens intended. During a demonstration of Vorthak combat techniques, Colonel Choi Won watched carefully as the alien warriors showed off their skills. They were strong and fast, but their fighting style was rigid, predictable. They train for the same opponents over and over, he noted in his private journal. They expect enemies to fight like other council species. But humans fight differently. We adapt, we improvise, we use whatever works. The aliens, for their part, were becoming increasingly puzzled by human behavior. During recreational time, the humans engaged in activities that the aliens found disturbing. Dr. Xin Yu organized competitive games among the human delegation. She had them race through obstacle courses, solve puzzles under time pressure, and work together to overcome artificial challenges. The humans seemed to enjoy these stressful activities. "Why do you deliberately create difficulties for yourselves?" asked Dr. Nira during one observation session. "It's fun," Dr. Xin Yu replied simply. "We like challenges. They make us stronger. But there is no logical purpose to unnecessary difficulty, isn't there?" Dr. Xin Yu smiled. "How do you think we got so good at solving problems? By practicing on problems we didn't have to solve." The aliens shared their entertainment with the humans as well. Council entertainment was educational or peaceful. Beautiful music, instructional documentaries, and meditation experiences. The humans politely watched these presentations, but they seemed bored. When it was the humans' turn to share their entertainment, they showed the aliens recordings of human movies, sports, and games. The aliens were horrified. "This is violence for entertainment," Ambassador Thex protested after watching a recording of a football game. "You celebrate conflict." "It's not real violence," Ambassador Yunda explained. "It's controlled competition. We use rules to make it safe but still challenging." "But why do you enjoy watching others struggle?" "Because we understand the struggle," Colonel Choi once said. "We know what it feels like to push ourselves to our limits. When we see someone else do it, we feel proud of them." The aliens found human historical documentaries even more disturbing. Stories of humans surviving disasters, exploring dangerous places, and overcoming impossible odds. To the aliens, these looked like examples of poor planning and unnecessary risk-taking. "Your species seems obsessed with survival scenarios that should never occur," Dr. Nira observed. "But they do occur," Dr. Xin Yu pointed out. "Disasters happen. Equipment fails. Plans go wrong. We tell these stories because they teach us how to survive when everything goes bad. Proper planning prevents such situations." "Does it?" Dr. Xin Yu pulled up a historical record. "What happened to the Zerlon Empire?" Dr. Nira's expression changed. The Zerlon had been a council species that was destroyed when their star suddenly went unstable. Despite all their planning and technology, they had not been prepared for that disaster. "That was an exceptional event," Dr. Nira said quietly. "On Earth, we call exceptional events Tuesday," Dr. Xin Yu replied. "Our planet tries to kill us regularly. Earthquakes, storms, floods, fires, ice ages, asteroid impacts. We've survived all of it because we prepare for the impossible." As the weeks passed, the aliens began to notice other strange things about humans. When problems arose on the station, the humans would immediately start working together to solve them, even if the problems weren't their responsibility. When equipment broke down, the humans would study it and often suggest improvements. Engineer Kim Bo, who had been invited to visit the station's technical sections, was constantly asking questions that made the alien technicians uncomfortable. "Why do you use this design for the power couplers?" he asked one day. "Because it is the standard design," replied the Vorthak engineer. "It has been used for 3,000 years. But wouldn't this configuration be more efficient?" Kimbo sketched out a different design on his tablet. The alien engineer studied the sketch with growing surprise. This might actually work better, but it would require changing all the manufacturing systems. So, if it's better, why not change? Because we have always done it the other way." Kimbo stared at the alien for a long moment. "That's the most alien thing you've said since I got here." The humans were also sharing their own culture with the aliens, but the aliens were misunderstanding most of it. When Ambassador Yunda played recordings of human music, the aliens focused on the mathematical patterns and missed the emotional content entirely. "Your harmonics are adequate," commented a Zephyrian music specialist. "But why do you include so many irregular rhythms?" "Because regular rhythms get boring," Yunda explained. "We like surprises in our music. We like to feel something unexpected. Predictability is more pleasant, for you maybe. For us, predictability is death." The most telling moment came during a joint problem-solving exercise. The aliens presented both humans and council species with the same puzzle. The message arrived on a Tuesday morning, Earth time. Ambassador Yunda was having breakfast on the alien station when her communication device buzzed with an urgent signal from Earth. She read the message twice before she believed what she was seeing. Integration requirements for species. Human, the official document began. The Galactic Council hereby invites humanity to join our peaceful confederation. To ensure smooth integration, the following requirements must be met within 60 standard days. Yunda's hands shook as she read the list. All human military forces must be disbanded. All human space vessels must be registered with Council oversight. All human colonies outside the Sol system must be abandoned. All human research into advanced weapons must cease immediately. A council governor would be appointed to oversee human affairs. Colonel Choi Wan found her sitting in her quarters an hour later, staring at the message. Ambassador, are you all right? She handed him the tablet without speaking. He read it quickly and his face grew dark. This isn't membership, he said quietly. This is surrender. Dr. Shin Yu arrived shortly after, summoned by their urgent communications. She read the requirements and laughed, but it was not a happy sound. They're not even trying to hide it anymore. They want to turn us into another client species. What do you mean? Yunda asked. I've been studying the other species on this station, Dr. Shin Yu explained. The ones that joined the council decades ago. They all went through the same process. First the cultural exchange, then the integration requirements, then gradual loss of independence. Look at the Kellan delegation. The three humans had all noticed the Kellans. They had once been a proud warrior species, but now they served as technicians and laborers on the station. They never spoke unless spoken to, never suggested improvements, never questioned orders. They broke them, Colonel Choi Wan said simply, took away their weapons, their ships, their colonies, until they had nothing left but service to the council. Ambassador Yun Da activated her secure communication link to Earth. The conversation that followed would change everything. On Earth, General Hondo was reading the same requirements in his office deep beneath Seoul. Hondo was a small, quiet man who had spent his entire career preparing for wars that he hoped would never come. He had studied every conflict in human history and learned from all of them. Sir, his aide said, the President wants to know your recommendation. Hondo looked up from the document. Tell the President that the Galactic Council has just declared war on humanity. They just don't know it yet. Within hours, emergency sessions were being held in every major capital on Earth. The reaction was swift and unified in a way that surprised even the humans themselves. Every nation, every government, every military force agreed on one thing. The Council's demands were unacceptable, but they also agreed on something else. They would not reject the demands openly. Not yet. Captain Namji received her orders while her submarine was patrolling the deep Pacific. Namji was the kind of officer who asked difficult questions and never accepted easy answers. Her submarine was one of the most advanced vessels in the Korean Navy, equipped with experimental stealth technology. New mission, her communications officer reported. We're to investigate anomalous readings in the outer system. Possible alien surveillance networks. Namji studied the orders carefully. Anomalous readings was military code for things that shouldn't be there. Someone suspected that the aliens were not being entirely honest about their activities in human space. Over the next 2 weeks, Captain Namji's submarine, now equipped with space travel modifications, conducted the most important reconnaissance mission in human history. What she found confirmed everyone's worst fears. The aliens had been placing monitoring stations throughout the Sol system, not just sensors but weapons platforms. Enough firepower to destroy every human settlement in space and bombard Earth itself into submission. They're not planning to integrate us. Namji reported back to General Hondo. They're planning to conquer us. The monitoring stations are already in position. At the same time, Agent Kang Su was conducting her own investigation on Earth. Kang Su was the intelligence operative who specialized in finding secrets that people wanted to keep hidden. She had been tasked with learning everything possible about the Galactic Council's history. What she discovered was worse than anyone had imagined. General, she reported during a secure video conference, I've been analyzing radio transmissions from other parts of the galaxy, signals from species that supposedly joined the Council peacefully. The pattern is always the same. She displayed a chart on the screen. First, there's normal communication traffic from the species. Then a period of reduced activity during cultural exchange, then integration announcements, then silence. Silence? Complete radio silence. These species stopped broadcasting to the galaxy entirely after joining the Council. Either they lost all interest in communicating with anyone outside the council, or they lost the ability to do so. General Han Do studied the data. How many species? 47 in the last 200 years. All of them followed the same pattern. All of them went silent after integration. The most chilling discovery came when Agent Kang Su managed to intercept a council communication that Engineer Kim Bo had decoded. The message was between Commander Kale and his superiors, discussing the human situation. Species shows more resistance than anticipated, the message read. May require enhanced pacification protocols. Recommend proceeding to Phase 2 ahead of schedule. What's Phase 2? General Hondo asked. Agent Kang Su's face was grim. According to the documents Kim Bo decoded, Phase 2 is a demonstration of Council resolve. They disable what they think are our primary defenses, then demand immediate compliance, and if we still refuse, Phase 3 is permanent pacification, total destruction of human military assets and installation of direct Council rule. The humans now faced a terrible choice. They could accept the Council's demands and become another broken client species. Or they could fight an enemy with technology centuries ahead of their own. But the aliens had made one crucial mistake. They assumed that humans would think like other Council species, logical, predictable, willing, to accept defeat when the odds were impossible. They did not understand that humans had spent their entire evolutionary history facing impossible odds. General Han Do called a meeting of the most important military leaders on Earth. The gathering included Admiral Li Bin, a quiet woman who had spent years planning for deep space operations, Captain Zhang Ho, a pilot who had been testing humanity's first true interstellar warships, Dr. Moon A, a physicist whose theories had enabled technological breakthroughs the aliens had not detected. The Council thinks they know our capabilities, General Hondo began. They've been scanning our obvious military installations and our registered spacecraft. They think they understand our technology level. But they don't, Admiral Li Bin said. They don't know about the deep space projects. They don't know about the hidden shipyards. They don't know about the backup colonies. Captain Zhang Ho nodded. They've been watching us for over a year, but they've only seen what we wanted them to see. Dr. Moon A pulled up a holographic display showing the Sol system. Their monitoring stations are impressive, but they're positioned to watch our known assets. They're not looking in the right places. The plan that emerged from that meeting was audacious even by human standards. Instead of waiting for the Council to attack, humanity would let them begin their demonstration. The aliens would disable what they thought were Earth's primary defenses. They would demand surrender, and then they would discover what humans had really been building during the cultural exchange period. The key is timing, General Han Do explained to his subordinates. We let them think they've won. We let them get confident. And then we show them what humans do when they're backed into a corner. Meanwhile, on the alien station, Ambassador Yun Da was meeting with Commander Kale for what would be their final diplomatic discussion. Kale had arrived personally to oversee humanity's integration, confident that his mere presence would be enough to secure human compliance. Ambassador, Kyle said, his forearms gesturing grandly, I trust your government has had time to review our generous offer of membership. We have, Yun Da replied carefully, but we have some concerns about the requirements. Kale's expression did not change, but his skin color shifted slightly. Young species often have difficulty understanding the necessity of Council oversight. Perhaps you need more time to consider the benefits of membership. What we need, Yun Da said quietly, is to understand what happens to species that refuse membership. That rarely occurs, Kyle replied. Most species recognize the advantages of joining our peaceful confederation. But when it does occur, Kale was silent for a long moment. The Council cannot allow chaos to spread throughout the galaxy, Ambassador. Order must be maintained. I see. Yun Da stood up from her chair. Commander, I need to ask you something directly. In all your years of experience, have you ever encountered a species that surprised you? Surprised me? In what way? A species that did things you didn't expect. That solved problems in ways you hadn't considered. That proved to be more capable than your initial assessment suggested. Commander Kale stood on his bridge and watched the human response to his ultimatum with satisfaction. It had been 12 hours since he had given humanity one final chance to accept Council membership. 12 hours since he had demonstrated Council power by disabling 3 human orbital defense platforms with surgical strikes from his energy weapons. The humans had responded exactly as he expected. Their governments were in emergency session. Their military leaders were frantically trying to coordinate a response. Their news broadcasts showed panic and confusion among the civilian population. Status report. Kale ordered. All primary human military installations have been identified and targeted, reported his weapons officer. Their main fleet consists of 47 registered vessels, mostly short-range patrol craft. Their orbital weapons platforms are offline. Their ground-based missile systems are primitive and easily countered. Excellent. And their response to our demonstration? No official reply yet, said his communications officer. But we are detecting increased military communications traffic. They appear to be mobilizing their forces. Kale made the Vortex sound of amusement. Let them mobilize. It will make no difference. What Kale did not know was that the military communications traffic his people were detecting was actually a carefully orchestrated deception. The real communications were happening through quantum-encrypted channels that engineer Kimbo had developed months earlier. The channels were invisible to Council detection systems because they used principles that Council science had never explored. In a hidden facility on the far side of Earth's moon, Admiral Li Bin was receiving reports from across human space. Li Bin was a small, gray-haired woman who spoke softly but commanded absolute respect from every officer under her command. "Status of the Deep Fleet?" she asked. "All ships report ready," replied her aide. 68 vessels in total. The Council doesn't know any of them exist. Hidden installations? Operational. 17 weapons platforms in the asteroid belt. 34 in the Kuiper belt. All stealth systems active. Backup colonies. Safe. The Council never detected the settlements on Titan, Europa, or the asteroid mining operations. All military personnel have been evacuated to secondary positions. Admiral Li Bin nodded. The Council thought they had identified all of humanity's military assets because they had scanned for technology signatures that matched their own databases. But human technology had developed along different lines. Where the Council used energy-based systems, humans often used chemical or nuclear alternatives. Where the Council relied on centralized control, humans built redundant distributed networks. Most importantly, the Council expected young species to build their military forces in space, where they could be easily seen and targeted. But humans had learned to hide. Captain Zhang Ho was waiting in the pilot seat of the Soul's Vengeance, humanity's first true warship. The ship was hidden inside a hollowed-out asteroid, surrounded by fake mining equipment that made it invisible to Council sensors. Captain Zhang Ho was a calm man with steady hands and eyes that missed nothing. "All systems green," reported his weapons officer, Lieutenant Park Jun. "The new torpedo systems are loaded and ready." The torpedoes were Dr. Moon A's masterpiece. She had taken human nuclear technology and combined it with alien energy manipulation techniques that engineer Kimbo had decoded from Council systems. The result was a weapon that delivered far more destruction than its size suggested, using principles that Council shields were not designed to stop. "Target priorities?" asked Lieutenant Park Jun. "The command ship first," Captain Zhang Ho replied. "Then the heavy cruisers. Remember, we're not trying to win a fair fight. We're trying to survive long enough to show them that this won't be easy." Throughout the Sol system, similar conversations were happening on dozens of ships and installations that the Council had never detected. Humans had spent the entire cultural exchange period preparing for exactly this moment, but they had also been preparing for something else, something that would shock the Council even more than hidden weapons. Dr. Moon Ai was in her laboratory, deep beneath the mountains of Korea, putting the finishing touches on her greatest achievement. She had been working on the project since the first day the aliens arrived, and it was finally ready. "The calculations are complete," she reported to General Han Do. "We can do it. Are you certain?" "As certain as we can be about something that's never been attempted before. But the theory is sound. If we can get close enough to their command ship, we can turn their own technology against them." General Han Do studied the equations on Dr. Moon A's screen. Even with his advanced education, he could barely understand what she had discovered. "How close?" "Very close. Someone will have to get within their shield perimeter." "That's a suicide mission." Dr. Moon Ai looked up from her work. "General, every mission from this point forward is a suicide mission. The only question is whether we make our deaths count for something. On the Council command ship, Commander Kale was growing impatient. The humans had been given more than enough time to respond to his demonstration. It was time to proceed to the next phase. Open a communication channel to Earth, he ordered. The transmission reached every major government on Earth simultaneously. Kale's image appeared on screens in presidential offices, military command centers, and emergency bunkers around the globe. People of Earth, Kale began, you have seen a demonstration of Council power. Your orbital defenses have been disabled. Your military assets have been cataloged and targeted. You cannot resist us. The alien commander paused to let his words sink in. However, the Council is merciful. Surrender now and your species will be preserved. Your civilization will continue under Council guidance. Refuse, and we will be forced to take more direct action. You have 1 hour to respond. The transmission ended, leaving Earth's leaders to contemplate their impossible choice. But the choice had already been made weeks earlier. In secret meetings and classified planning sessions, General Han Do activated the quantum communication system that connected him to every human military unit in the solar system and beyond. All units, this is Han Do. Operation Last Stand is now active. Execute Phase 1. Show them what they're really dealing with. The first surprise came from the asteroid belt. What the Council had identified as mining operations suddenly revealed themselves to be weapons platforms. 17 installations that had been invisible to Council sensors opened fire simultaneously on the alien monitoring stations. The weapons were not energy-based like Council systems. They were kinetic projectiles, chunks of metal accelerated to incredible speeds by electromagnetic launchers. The Council shields, designed to deflect energy weapons, offered little protection against solid matter traveling at significant fractions of light speed. 12 alien monitoring stations were destroyed in the first volley. What was that? Kale demanded as his bridge erupted in alarms. Unknown weapons platforms in the asteroid belt, his tactical officer reported. They appear to be using projectile weapons. Our sensors did not detect them. How is that possible? They are using stealth technology that our scanners cannot penetrate. The second surprise came from the outer system. Captain Namji's submarine, now equipped for space operations, had been hiding in the shadow of Neptune for weeks. Her mission was to eliminate the Council's rear guard, the ship's positioned to prevent human vessels from escaping the system. Target acquired, her weapons officer reported. Council heavy cruiser bearing 270. Fire, Captain Namji ordered. The torpedo that struck the alien cruiser was unlike anything in the Council's experience. Instead of exploding on contact with the shields, it passed through them as if they weren't there. The warhead detonated inside the ship's hull, venting the vessel's atmosphere into space. How did that projectile penetrate our shields? The dying cruiser's captain transmitted before his ship was torn apart. No one could answer him. The Council's energy shields were useless against weapons that moved slowly enough to slip between the energy fields, then accelerated to destructive speeds once they were inside. The third surprise was the biggest of all. From hidden positions throughout the system, 68 human ships revealed themselves and began attacking Council vessels with coordinated precision. The ships themselves were smaller than Council vessels, but they moved faster and hit harder than their size suggested. More importantly, they fought like no species the Council had ever encountered. Council naval doctrine was based on formation fighting. Large ships with heavy shields and powerful weapons arranged in predictable patterns that maximize their firepower while protecting their flanks. Human naval doctrine was based on chaos. Ships appeared from unexpected directions, fired weapons that worked in ways Council shields couldn't handle, then disappeared before return fire could be targeted effectively. Captain Jiang Ho brought the Soul's vengeance out of its asteroid hiding place and immediately targeted the Council's command ship. His ship was tiny compared to Kale's massive vessel, but it was fast and armed with Dr. Mooney's experimental weapons. Firing solution locked, reported Lieutenant Park Jun. Fire all tubes, Captain Yang Ho ordered. 6 torpedoes streaked toward the Council command ship. The alien gunners had time to destroy 4 of them, but 2 got through. Captain Yang Ho could not see anything through his cockpit window. Dr. Mooney's quantum stealth system had made his ship invisible to the aliens, but it had also blinded all of his electronic systems. He was flying toward the enemy command ship using only basic mechanical instruments and his own judgment. The Soul's vengeance shook as energy blasts passed close by. The aliens were firing blindly now, trying to hit a target they could not see. Captain Jiang Ho smiled grimly as he adjusted his course. Flying blind into enemy fire was exactly the kind of impossible situation that humans trained for. Distance to target? He asked Lieutenant Park Jun. 2,000 meters in closing, Park Jun replied, reading from the one instrument that still worked. A simple radar system so basic that the alien jamming couldn't affect it. Good. Prepare Dr. Moon's device. In the cargo bay, the small device hummed with power. Dr. Moon A had called it a quantum resonance cascade generator, but Captain Jiang Ho preferred to think of it as the galaxy's most expensive firecracker. When activated near a council ship, it would use the aliens' own quantum communication systems to create a feedback loop that would spread from ship to ship throughout their fleet. 1,000 meters, Lieutenant Park Jun reported. On the council command ship, Commander Kyle was trying to understand how his fleet was losing to primitive humans. Half of his monitoring stations were destroyed. 3 of his heavy cruisers were crippled. His own command ship had taken damage that should have been impossible. Sir, his tactical officer reported, we've lost contact with 17 vessels. Their quantum communication links have gone dark. Mechanical failure, unknown. The ships appear to be intact, but they are not responding to orders. What the tactical officer didn't know was that those ships had been hit by a new type of human weapon. Dr. Yang So, working in a secret laboratory on Mars, had discovered how to create computer viruses that could infect alien systems through their quantum networks. The viruses didn't destroy the ships, but they made them useless for combat. Sir, another officer called out, we're detecting an energy surge directly ahead. Something is approaching our position. On screen. The view screen showed nothing but empty space, but the energy readings were unmistakable. Something was out there. Fire at those coordinates, Kale ordered. Energy beams lanced out from the command ship, but they passed harmlessly through the space where the readings indicated a target should be. No effect, sir. Whatever it is, our weapons cannot hit it. Captain Jiang Ho felt the alien energy beams pass around his ship like deadly lightning. The stealth system was working perfectly. He was now close enough to see the massive alien vessel through his cockpit window. 500 meters, Lieutenant Park Jun announced. Dr. Moon's device is ready for activation. Do it. The device activated with a sound like thunder. Every quantum field within 1,000 kilometers suddenly resonated at the same frequency. On the Council command ship, every computer system, every communication array, every weapon control system that relied on quantum technology began to malfunction. But Dr. Moon A had built something even more devastating into her device. As the quantum fields collapsed, they created a cascade effect that spread from ship to ship through the Council fleet's own communication network. Within minutes, every Council vessel in the Sol system found itself deaf, blind, and largely defenseless, all systems failing. The Council tactical officer reported in panic. Weapons offline. Shields down. Communications disrupted. Commander Kale stared at his control panels as they went dark one by one. How is this possible? He got his answer from an unexpected source. Captain Lee Hyun's voice came over the ship's communication system, transmitted on a frequency so basic that the quantum interference couldn't block it. Commander Kale, this is Captain Lee Hyun of the Korean Space Force. Your fleet is now defenseless. I am ordering you to surrender immediately. Surrender? Kale's voice was filled with disbelief. You are a primitive species. Your technology is centuries behind ours. Commander, our technology may be different from yours, but it is not primitive. We have been studying your systems for over a year. We know how they work. We know how to break them. On Earth, President Kim Hae was watching the battle from the Emergency Command Center beneath Seoul. She was a small woman with iron in her voice and steel in her spine. She had been elected on a platform of peaceful cooperation with the galaxy. But she had also spent her entire career preparing for the possibility that cooperation might not be enough. Open a channel. To the entire Council fleet, she ordered. Her image appeared on every surviving screen in the alien vessels. Behind her stood General Hondo, Admiral Lee Bin, and the other leaders of humanity's military forces. I am President Kim Hae of Earth, she began. Commander Kale, You came to our solar system believing that you understood what humans are capable of. You were wrong. She gestured to a display screen that showed the current status of the battle. Your fleet came here with 47 vessels. 19 have been destroyed. 23 are disabled. 5 are trying to flee the system. Your monitoring stations are gone. Your weapons platforms are offline. This is impossible, Kale transmitted back. We are the Galactic Council. We have conquered hundreds of species. We have technology that spans thousands of years of development. Yes, President Kim Hae replied, and that is exactly your problem. Fleet Admiral Park Jun stepped forward. She was Admiral Lee Bin's younger sister, and she commanded the human ships that were now surrounding the crippled Council fleet. Commander, your technology is very advanced, Admiral Park Jun said, but it is also very old. You have been using the same designs, the same tactics, the same thinking for thousands of years. You stopped innovating because you thought you had already reached perfection. But humans never stop innovating, General Hondo added. We never stop improving. We never stop looking for better ways to do things. In the 18 months since first contact, we have advanced our technology more than you have in the last 1,000 years. Dr. Yang So appeared on the screen next to the president. Commander, we have been inside your computer networks for months. We know everything about your technology. We know about your other client species. We know what you really do to civilizations that refuse to submit. We know about the Zerlon genocide, Agent Kang Su added, her voice cold with anger. We know about the Kellan subjugation. We know about 47 other species that joined your council and then disappeared from galactic history. Commander Kale's skin had turned a sickly yellow color. You cannot know these things. That information is classified at the highest levels. Engineer Kim Bo has been reading your classified files since our second week on your station, President Kim Hae said simply. Did you really think we would trust you completely? Did you really think we would not prepare for betrayal? On the crippled command ship, Commander Kale was beginning to understand the scope of his failure. You planned this from the beginning. No, President Kim Hae replied. We hoped you were sincere about peaceful cooperation, but we prepared for the possibility that you were not. Humans always prepare for the worst-case scenario. But we detected all of your military assets, Kyle protested. We scanned your entire system. Admiral Lee Bin smiled. You scanned what we wanted you to scan. You found what we wanted you to find. Commander, the assets you detected were less than 20% of our actual military capability. The ships you destroyed were mostly automated decoys. Admiral Park Jun added. The real fleet was always hidden. Your monitoring stations were positioned to watch our registered colonies, Agent Kang Su continued. They never detected our backup settlements. Your weapon systems were designed to counter Council technology, Dr. Yang So concluded. They were useless against weapons that work on completely different principles. Commander Kale slumped in his command chair. His mighty fleet was ruined. His invasion force was defeated. His career was over. But worse than any of that was the growing realization of what this defeat meant. The other Council species, he said slowly, when they learn that humans defeated us, they will learn that the Council is not invincible, President Kim Hae said. They will learn that there are alternatives to submission. Dr. Shin Yu appeared on the communication screen. Commander, we have been analyzing the psychology of Council client species. Do you know what we found? Kale did not respond. Fear, Dr. Shin Yu continued. They obey the Council because they are afraid. They believe that resistance is hopeless, but now they will see that it is not hopeless. They will see that the Council can be defeated. We are transmitting recordings of this battle to every species in the galaxy, Engineer Kimbo added. Full technical specifications of how we countered your weapons. Complete tactical analysis of how we defeated your fleet. Any species that wants to rebel against Council rule will know exactly how to do it. Captain Zhang Ho's voice came over the communication channel. Commander, my ship is now docked with yours. My crew is aboard your vessel. We control your bridge, your engines, and your weapons. You are now our prisoner. This is war, Kale said desperately. If you attack the Council, we will respond with overwhelming force. Commander, President Kim Hae said quietly, you already